online at SEMO ESPN.com and at 93.5 FM. This is a proud presentation of Southeast Missouri's ESPN Radio Sports Network. It's time for the Red Hawks Coaches Show, live from Wings, etc. Hear the Coaches Show every Monday at noon on SEMO ESPN 1220 and at 93.5 FM. Also at SEMOESPN.com and the SEMO ESPN app. Plus also watch the Red Hawks Coaches Show webcast live at SEMOESPN.com. Now,
somebody go live.
Let's go live to Wings, etc. for the Red Hawks Coaches Show.
And we welcome you inside Wings, etc. for the Red Hawks Coaches Show. Don't forget, it is Monday, and that means the award-winning jumbo wings at Wings, etc. are on special for just 69 cents. So take advantage of that. And, of course, the St. Louis Blues play tonight, so don't forget you can watch the Blues in high definition right here at Wings, etc., where you can enjoy their award-winning jumbo wings or check out their entire menu, which includes their burger menu, their wraps, subs, quesadillas, entree salads, smoked ribs, and much more. And check out their appetizer lineup. That includes their ultimate nachos and their brand new deep fried spicy pickle chips. It's Wings, etc., home of the Red Hawks Coaches Show. Good food, great times. We're going to be talking with head coach Brad Korn momentarily. Assistant coach Keith Pickens is going to join us. He was a Missouri State Bear. Let's welcome Coach Brad Korn in. When did Missouri State change from Southwest Missouri State? I can't remember what year that was. Do you remember?
Oh, you put me on the spot. Gosh, I don't know.
Okay.
2000, 2001 maybe?
Okay.
I think somewhere in there. Because when I first went to school, it was in 99, it was still at SMS.
Okay.
And I think it was at maybe for a year or two. So I want if I had I'd say 01.
Okay.
Say it's 01.
I'm trying to think. In 2001, we beat them in baseball there, and they had Ryan Howard at that time, and they were still Southwest Missouri State. So you're probably
somewhere
in the right area.
Yeah.
So he doesn't remember when it was Southwest Missouri State. He was there when it was Missouri State. So we'll talk with Coach Keith Pickens coming up. Speaking of Missouri State, what was it like coaching at Missouri State? Because we're going to ask Keith Pickens the exact same thing. They really pay close attention to the facilities over there. They've got a really nice basketball facility.
Yeah, and I never got to play in there in the JQH Arena. I played in the student center.
Right.
So I did. I remember playing over there in the student center. Just was such a smaller. It was so tight, and then we got the brand new arena over there. So it was really nice facilities. They've done a nice job with the recreation center as well. As I was leaving there as an assistant, the facility upgrades were well on their way. They did soccer and they did field hockey. So they were really doing a lot of things there with their facilities. So they did a nice job with that.
And they built Hammons Field, the baseball facility with the Double-A Springfield Cardinals playing, and Missouri State, gets to play in that. So they get to play in a professional baseball facility. So really nice facilities over there. We'll talk with Keith Pickens coming up. I thought it was interesting. You played Jacksonville State on Saturday, and we'll recap that and your big win over Tennessee Tech. But in the history of Southern Illinois University basketball at Carbondale, they played Jacksonville State one time ever in the history of basketball, and it was 2003, and the Salukis waxed the Gamecocks that year, and a guy named Brad Korn had 17 points and 5 rebounds in that game. Do you remember playing Jacksonville State?
Actually, I don't. I don't remember that game.
Big 17-5 game, and you don't remember?
It was probably my career high and everything too. You would think I'd remember that. No, I don't remember that at all. Actually, quite honestly, I really don't.
I think you beat them by like 30. The Salukis beat them 35, something like that.
Yeah, I don't remember. I remember a lot of other games, but not that one.
All right, well, we had to give you a shout-out for a great game.
I appreciate it. So there's proof that there was at least one.
Right, against the Gamecocks. Let's start with that game against Jacksonville State. When you play a team coached by Ray Harper, you know it is going to be physical. I know oftentimes they want to make it an ugly game, and they challenge your toughness. And if you're not tough enough, then they'll just steamroll you. I've seen that happen in the past. But that's a team going in, you know it's going to be a physical game, and you know you got to be tough if you're going to compete with them. Was that your thought process going into the game with them?
Yeah, we had we do our little emphasis before, game focus, if you will. There's always pick about 3 or 4 different things, and that definitely was one of the things that was on there. And obviously just with their size and their physicality, and we've gotten away from our rebounding a little bit, and you knew you had to do that against them, again, with their length and athleticism, really at all positions. It's not – sometimes you talk about just the big guys, or they may have a big guard, but their whole team, I mean, they had great size, great length. We knew rebounding was going to be a point of contention, and we put ourselves in a little bit of a hole in the rebounding, especially at halftime, and we just weren't able to close that gap. And against their team, Coach Harper, actually he has a director of operations that was with us at Kansas State, so familiar with those guys, obviously. And I thought that we played we matched everything in the first half. I mean, we played really, really well. Our defense we were engaged, we were ready to roll, and I thought we matched everything, especially the physicality of them. And then they turned it up in the second half, and I think it got us a little bit off kilter. We got a little bit away from what we had success in the first half. So it just is kind of we didn't turn it back on the way that they turned it up a little bit in the second half.
Well, they can go 6'9", 6'10", 6'10", 6'11",
yeah.
And all those guys play. I mean, are they the biggest team in the OVC? I can't imagine there's a team bigger than them. They're one of those teams, like when they come out for pregame, they are getting off the bus, they look like an SEC school.
Yeah, length all over the place. And again, like we had just mentioned, I think Belmont's got big guys, obviously. Big fella, but even their backup post players are big. But then they're out front. Their point guard and their 2 guard are a little bit smaller. Jacksonville State, it wasn't that way. It was across the board length, and then so it makes it a little bit. It wears on you, and I think it wore on us as that game went on.
Boy, and then you've got a guy in the middle, and Brandon Huffman, who is 6'10", I think 260 is where he's listed. And then when they go to the bench, they bring in Martin Robe. He's 6'10", but he's a guy that can step out and shoot 3-point shots. In fact, he hit a 3-pointer and also had a basket down on the post. 2 very different post players, because when Robe comes in, your post players have to go out and try to defend the arc.
Yeah, and especially the way that game was going, and Huffman, he gets it. He went to North Carolina out of high school, so we had a post-trap game plan for him, but he turns and just shoots it so fast that your double team doesn't really necessarily matter. And he got a couple of those. We got him in foul trouble, but again, as you mentioned, it's 2 different tales, because now, again, we had one ball screen coverage, then we try to switch it up and go to a different one. So now you've got to do a little bit of both, knowing which guy's which and what their strengths and weaknesses are. Obviously, 2 totally different styles of play between their 2 big guys, and so for us, our ball screen coverage had to change and adjust, and you got to know what's going on, especially the weak side guys. If we got to stop the ball because they're getting downhill, and then now on the weak side, you got to be able to, we call it a stunt. You got to be able to go and fake and drop at that guy to get him out of rhythm, get him out of his shot. So he actually had a couple late after he made his first 1 threes that I was a little bit worried about, but we did a nice job of recovering.
And then they've got a guy named Amanzi Ngamezi, and this guy transferred from Georgia. So they got a North Carolina guy, they got a Georgia guy, and Ngamezi can do about everything. I mean, I thought he was the best player on the floor.
Yeah, and then you go through all that, and then Finch takes over with the high ball screen lane. He's getting to the rim, and so he's got he's got some talent over there, and they turned it up in the second half. They knew they were in a game. Again, I thought we played really, really well in the first half. I was very pleased with where we were and how we had played and competed, and locked into the scouting report. It helped. Eric Reed came out, made a couple threes for us early, got him going. So that was good, and I just think that we just kind of the totality of their team and roster, I think, just kind of wore on us as the game went on.
The guy that I was really impressed with was Jalen Finch, their point guard. How many guys in the OVC do you think can stay in front of that guy? I couldn't believe how he could get to the basket when he wanted to, because sometimes you ran 2 defenders at him, and he still found a way to get to the rim. I mean, he's a pretty high-level point guard, right?
Yeah, he is. It's just the speed. And, again, we talked about it after the game. A lot of guys are good north-south players. He is so fast east-west. And A couple times he got Nate on his heels a little bit. Our big guys were retreating, and he gets you going one way, and he can cut it back the other just as fast as he can go north-south. So that makes it for a very, very hard cover. Again, some guys you can game plan and scheme like, okay, well, he does this really well, so we can just do this and slow him down or stop him. I thought with him it was very hard. We went to about 3 to 4 different coverages or types of defense to slow him down, but he was able to get to wherever he wanted. To his credit, again, I think it's more of that east-west quickness that some guys are quick, but it was the elite quickness from east-west, which is unusual. It's different, and a lot of times, again, it's more north-south.
I mean, even a roster as talented as Murray State, they don't have any guards that are like him.
Yeah, he's got to be. He's the shiftiest for sure that we've seen to this point.
And he finished the game with 16 points, 8 rebounds, and 7 assists, 3 blocked shots from their point guard, Jalen Finch. So the game is tied at halftime, and what are your thoughts going into the locker room?
I felt really good. Actually,
sorry, you were up one. You're up one.
And they got the stick back right at the end of the half off an air ball, which you can't, we're yelling to get rebound, and so the caroms or an air ball, chalk those up just as basketball plays. DQ was right there trying to block out, but again, it's air ball, and you can't predict any of that type of stuff. So I thought we played well. I thought our defense was phenomenal. We were locked in. We were engaged early. Again, Eric came out, made a bunch of shots early, which helps. Manny picked up some foul trouble. But at halftime, I thought we were, outside of the free throws, I believe we were 5 of 10 at half from the foul line, and then we were down 8 or 12, I believe, on the rebounds. So I was a little bit worried about that just because, as we've talked about before, you knew that was going to be something that you had to get corrected if you're going to have a chance in the second half. So I really thought that we were going to come out and take the game down to the wire and play the same way that we did, but I think we just ran out of gas. Mentally, physically, everything. And again, credit to them and how they do that and do wear on you. And then I thought, obviously, Finch, you just read his stat line, he kind of dominated. He controlled the game.
Yeah, he is certainly an elite player and point guard in the OVC. You hold them in the first half. Now, they came in the third best three-point shooting, or the second best three-point shooting team in the conference, number 2 in terms of three-point percentage, and they launched 15 threes in the first half, and they only hit 2 of them. You defended the arc very well in that first half.
Yeah, and I think they were 4 of 22, if I'm not mistaken, from 3 in the game.
Correct.
So it's like
4 for 25.
4 for 25. And it's like we've talked about after a lot of our games. It's like sometimes our statistics don't add up to what you thought the result would have been. So going into this game, if you'd have told me, like, hey, they're going to shoot 4 of 25 from 3, and I'm like, well, yeah, we're going to we'll be right there. But again, you throwing the free throws, rebounding. There's a whole lot of other possessions in there that they were able to capitalize on. So, but again, I was pleased with our defense. They tried to pick up pressure in the first half and went to a press, and we did a very nice job against the press and got him out of that. He didn't go back to it. And then in the second half, they really didn't. There weren't a whole lot of sets or actions that they were hurting us on, and he's just over there saying ball screen again. And so it just turned into he just put the ball in Finch's hand, and they just went to the high ball screen. And probably a lot of that, too, was big fella was in foul trouble. And so they had to change up what they were doing, and they just went to the high ball screen, and it was working. And unfortunately for us, we didn't have enough in that second half. And I think we had probably too many of those kind of deflating possessions. You miss that many free throws. It's just empty possession after empty possession. And so it's like, if you can't score enough, it's going to be hard to win the game, and we just couldn't get enough points on the board.
And for those who did not see the game, you missed 13 free throws. It was 13 of 26. Isn't basketball odd? Because on Thursday night against Tennessee Tech, you go 18 for 19, 14 for 14 in the second half. You didn't miss a free throw, and 48 hours later, you missed 13 free throws, go 13 for 26, and you had some of your better free throw shooters at the line.
Yeah, and that's every game is different. Every opponent's different. You just never know how it's going to go from game to game. You just would love a little bit more consistency, so you do feel better about which way it can go. And then again, as you meant, like Jordan Love goes 7 for 7 the day before Tennessee Tech and makes all the free throws late. We chose the foul in that game. We were up 3 and we chose the foul. We get a ball back inbounded for us. Jordan goes to the line, knocks 2, and then he goes 1 for 5 on Saturday. So it's just kind of how it goes sometimes, the game of basketball. But I think for us moving forward and for the rest of the year is just to get a little bit more consistency from that. So it's just not these highs and these lows that we have to try to go through. We can be a little bit more consistent.
So in the Tennessee Tech game, it was Eric Reed that hit the big shot. He hit a big three-pointer for you. And then he comes out and goes 4 for 5 from 3 against Jacksonville State. How much do you think making that clutch 3 against Tennessee Tech did for his confidence?
I think it helped for him to see a couple go in. He was in a little bit of a struggle, a little bit of a slump. And obviously we know Eric Reed can shoot the basketball. I think we got to do a little bit better as a team of finding him a little bit more as well. Again, that comes with us over-dribbling a little bit too much, because if you're going between your legs, behind the back, crossing over and all that, and the guy's open, well, now you've missed him because you're just dribbling for no reason. And so I think that's been a little bit of our struggle offensively. And we've got to be able to find and locate guys on time, on target, especially guys like Eric Reed, because now, once he makes his first and makes his second, he starts getting, and he can just raise up from anywhere. He hit one late, too, that was just a foot or two behind the line. And I think when he's got that kind of confidence going, and I think that SIUE game, Eastern Illinois, just when the defense got him going again, and he just kind of put all his energy into that, and then the offense came for him. So now I think he's back at a really, really good place.
Now, how many sets do you run to get him shots?
Oh, in that game in particular, we probably ran 6 or 7 specific ones just for him. We ran one out of a timeout, and I thought he had a good look, and I don't know if he didn't catch it clean, but I was really expecting him to just raise up and shoot it. That's why we ran the play, because he doesn't need much space.
Right.
And so it was right in front of you a little bit in the first half there. We ran him off a baseline double screen, and he caught it, and he just wasn't squared up, ready to shoot or whatever the case may be. But especially when he hits his first couple, it's like, hey, we got to go back to this. And now I think next evolution for a guy like Eric Reed is like, okay, now that I've made a couple, now let me throw a shot fake in there and get to the line and make a couple free throws. You don't have to just get fouled late if a team's pressing to get to the foul line. A guy that can shoot the basketball the way that he can, use a shot fake, get to the paint, because he is athletic around the rim as well and strong, and I think he can do that for us. So I think that can be the next kind of evolution for him, and to not just be a three-point shooter. Use it, be good at what you are, and now add a counter to that, and I think he's got that ability to do that.
Boy, I bet you would love to have a game where your guys, especially some of your leading scorers, just get your average. Yeah. You know what I mean? I mean, like just for instance, Chris Harris is a 14-point guy for you, and it just so happens against Jacksonville State he goes 0 for 9, 0 for 5 from three-point range. What did you see with Chris Harris against Jacksonville?
I think not only Chris, some of our guys too, just in general, if you're not able to get as open as you want, and then now you try to force a shot just to get one to go in.
Gotcha.
I think they're trying to do the right thing. I think Chris is trying to do the right thing. He's like, hey, I can score for us. I need to get my average. But again, now it's that second thought process of, okay, well, here's Jacksonville State, who's really long and athletic, and they're just laying on me. Well, now let me set this guy up even better, so when I come off this screen, I'll have a little bit more space instead of, okay, well, I'm just going to get the ball and go shoot a pull-up, a contested shot. And so I don't think that it's anything malicious. It's just I think he's saying, okay, I got to score for us to win, or whatever the case may be. But it's like now, well, let's get a little bit better. Let's set this screen perfectly. So now it either gets Manny a layup because they have to loosen, and so now when they loosen on you or help on Manny because you set a good screen, and now you step and you're wide open because they met you. Those are the next kind of things instead of just, okay, well, I got to get the ball and score. Well, how else can you score without the ball in your hands? And a player like Chris's ability, and even other guys, we got to get to that second line of thinking of that way. Of say, okay, well, they're doing this, now I got to do this.
And it probably didn't help really early that Manny Patterson picked up a foul, ended up having to leave the basketball game, and that really affects your post rotation because you're playing without Nolan Taylor.
Yeah, and in first play of the game, he goes and puts Huffman right in the basket, gets a layup. After the great game he had, career high, Tennessee Tech. The game before, so it's like, hey, we're good, we're rolling now, and feeling good, and then all of a sudden, that stuff happens, and it's. And Nate and Darius, they came in and did good things, but again, you'd much rather have that three-headed monster rotation going, especially when Manny had been playing so well up to that point. He's an in-game guy. He needs to be in the game, playing well and doing what he does, and he was ready to go and battle Huffman. So picked up them 2 fouls, and that puts you behind a little bit. No matter what you say, you go from 4. Now we're down to 3 with Nolan being out with the injury, now to 2. It can take its toll, and we need Manny out there, especially again the way that he had played the night before.
So I know there are maybe the majority of Division I coaches, not all, but many Division I coaches, when a guy gets his second foul in the first half, that's usually it until the second half. That's not always the case. Is there anybody that you trust enough that, we really need him on the floor? I trust that he's not going to pick up his third foul.
I've done it a couple times this year. I did it with Nana one game. I forget which game it was exactly. I've done it a few times, but I thought Manny was, especially in that game with their size, it's like, and we were right there. We're hanging with it, and took the lead into halftime. So it's like if we can get to him in the second half with 3 fouls left to give, it's like that's what we got to do. That's got to be the play for this game because of their size. Maybe if it was somebody else, or maybe if it was a stretch 5 type of a team or a system to where he's not taking as much one-on-one in the post. I probably could have gone back with him there, but each game's a little bit different. It's kind of like the foul up three. It just kind of each situation's a little bit different. Each guy's a little bit different. If I know other guys can maybe handle not fouling, picking up that third one. Sometimes I don't feel quite as confident with Manny just because.
Yeah, that's what I was bringing up. I mean,
he's a little more prone.
He leads the team in fouls per minutes played, so it's tough.
Exactly. But and again, I didn't feel we were in danger zone obviously in the first half to where you had to be like, okay, we got to try this. If Manny if he wouldn't foul quite as much, I probably would have felt a little bit better about it.
So let's talk about his performance in the Tennessee Tech game. 22 points, 6 rebounds. And a block shot, a steal. In 26 minutes, he goes 10 of 14 from the floor. What did you see with Manny on Thursday night?
He played with so much confidence. He was always on balance, which I think is a big thing for big guys. Sometimes you can get in there and just get going too fast and you fall over. And if you're not on balance, you're shooting at a moving target. And so now for Manny, when he's under control, on balance, he's got both of his feet underneath him, good base. I thought he was able to get to wherever he wanted to go. And so now his confidence was sky high. He hit 2 12, 14-foot jump shots, too, in the second half, really in a stretch where we were trading baskets back and forth. And it was still right in that 8-6-point range, and so they were huge shots for us. And I think the thing with Manny is he works so hard. He wants to be great. And there were the 2 possessions we went to him late. He shot a left-handed hook, and then he shot another turnaround jump shot when the shot clock was winding down. It's like, so I'm thinking about those 2 plays, and he came up after the game, and he's talking about them 2 plays because he knows he can. I just think that there's that much more for him to give us, and I think that's a sign of a good player. You're not just happy that he was 10 for 14. He's talking about the 2 shots that he missed that weren't the shots that he had got the 22 points on. And so I think that's the beautiful thing about Manny, and I think that he's continued. This was a great year for him to be able to play in the COVID year and to be able to get that experience and then be able to come back and do it again next year. Because it is different. The OVC is a different league than the Horizon and the big guys that he's seeing, and I think it's just going to pay huge dividends for us down the line and for him.
So you're down 16 points to Tennessee Tech with under 10 minutes to play in the first half. You cut that by 3 at halftime. You're down 13 at half. What keyed the comeback to beat Tennessee Tech on Thursday? In your mind, what changed?
Obviously, our defense got better. In the first half, they were making shots left and right. And we just were on our heels a little bit too much. Their guards were doing a fantastic job off their ball screens. They were just spacing the floor, ball screening us, kicking it out, shooting threes. And we were a step slow. And we just came out of the gate slow. We've done that too much this year. But again, finally in the second half, I think we settled in. We got a little bit tougher, kind of what Jacksonville State did to us, picked up the defensive intensity, started fighting for a few more passes. We were able to extend them out a little bit more, especially against teams that ball screen so much. If you're allowing them to operate on the arc or inside the arc, your coverage is behind the ball screen, you're exposed. It just makes it so much easier for that ball screen guy to see where the coverages are coming from. And so now if we're able to push them out, now our defense can be a little bit more solid on the backside of everything, and we're not spaced out or spread out as much. And then again, obviously, Manny got us going on the interior. We were able to play some inside-out basketball and kind of get the pace and the tempo back to where we needed it. I forget what the actual score was at halftime, but I think that the 30.
It was 39-26.
So for us to give up 39 points in the first half, that's not
right.
We're not going to do well that way. So it really was, that game was the tale of 2 halves because we flipped it, and I think it would turn out we went the exact opposite. But again, we made free throws in that game. Guys stepped up and made big plays, Jordan Love especially, and Eric Reed a huge three. And so we were able to find, and I think our defense started to give us a little bit more confidence, and the tide turned.
Well, when you say a tale of two halves, in the first half, Tennessee Tech goes 7 for 11 from 3.
Yeah.
And you say the intensity picked up in the second half. Well, they went from 7 for 11 to 0 for 7. Had you not defended the arc better, you're not going to win that game because you only won the game by 4 points.
Right. And that was what we told the guys at halftime. Said, hey, here we are. It's 13. You got to make a decision. We got to make the decision because if we come out and do that again, we're going to get blown out at home, and we shouldn't. And so they give our guys credit for they made that decision. They got recalibrated, and really came out and played a really, really nice half of basketball in the second half. And I was extremely happy after that game, just because it was we had played so poorly in the first, but then we got it figured out, and we didn't have to take a full game and lose and be angry afterwards or do any of those things that you do after an ugly game. We got it corrected within 20 minutes, which I thought was a positive thing for us, obviously. But then again, we did it, and then we came out and played a good 20 against Jacksonville, and then we let it slip in the second half. So we've got the ability to do it. We've got to get a little bit more consistent across the board with everything.
So talk a little bit about what you saw from Jordan Love. 14 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, 7 for 7 from the free throw line. He got to the free throw line more than anybody, and he made every single one of his free throws. How high is his ceiling? Yeah,
and I think I've mentioned consistency a couple times. For him, I think it's continue to be consistent that way. He's got the ability. He's got a quick first step. He obviously has the length, athleticism. But I think for him, he was engaged defensively. And obviously, as we mentioned, they were coming off a ton of ball screens. And so now, as we talked about Jacksonville State with their length and size, it's like Jordan can give that for us. And so now when a guard's coming off of a ball screen and he's putting up his wingspan, his arms, he's 6'6", getting deflections. And when you put your hands up on defense, it shuts down the other guy's vision. And so I think Jordan has that ability. He did that in that game. And he's got the ability to get to the rim. He made a huge three in that game as well. But I think he played with a really good level of confidence when he went to the line because he hadn't shot it well from the line up to that game. And so I think that was one of the things I saw from him, and because it just wasn't DQ's night in that game. I believe he was 1 of 7. He still played 25 minutes and still was our second field goal attempt guy. But I just went to Jordan, plugged him in there in that stretch, and he played a fantastic game, and we just let him finish it out. And he hit a huge pull-up in front of our bench. I was yelling at him to pass it, and he hit a pull-up. So he played with a high level of confidence. But I think, he wasn't just driven by offense in that game. He knew that his defense would help us get our offense going, and he did that.
It seems to me, if you just look at the guards in the Ohio Valley Conference, and they're putting a game plan together to play you, they have to think Jordan Love is a tough matchup for us.
Yeah, and we at the beginning of the year, just without Parker, and it's like, where are we going to play Jordan? Is he going to play on the 3? Is he going to play the 2? And then you see the game, and obviously we're seeing him in practice. He can make some passes. Well, with his size, it's like, let's play him as kind of our backup point guard. And I talked to him early. This was early in the year. Like, hey, do you feel comfortable doing that? And the ball in your hands, and he's done a nice job. He's done a nice job of that. And again, he's very versatile, which you got to have versatility, and obviously that helps across the board in the game of basketball. But for him, I think he can take a huge step because I think there's a lot of untapped potential there. I think, and that's always a scary word, is potential, because that means you haven't reached it yet. So I think that's the thing for him is, we can put the ball in his hands. He's got to get a little bit stronger with the ball when people pressure. I think Jacksonville was able to get up into him a little bit more. But he does. It's not. You always got to have extra ball handlers, and for his size at 6'6", can see over the defense. He can put balls. He can put it on your hands, and that's a skill.
All right, we're going to talk with assistant coach Keith Pickens coming up in just a moment. When you took over as head coach, more often than not, when a coaching change happens within a program, very rarely does a coach keep a current assistant coach that was on the previous staff on their staff. You decided you were going to keep Keith Pickens. What went into that decision? You had a prior relationship with him.
Yeah, so when I went to Missouri State to be an assistant, it was going into his senior year. And I don't know which one it was. I think Keith's had about 3 senior years over there at Missouri State. So
He retired at one point, right? And then came out of retirement.
Right.
He's like Rob Gronkowski, out of retirement.
Yeah, that's right. So I was like, I remember when I first went over there, Coach Lusk was like, I don't know if he's going to come back or not. And then he came back and he played one more year because he had one more year of eligibility left. So he came back. So that was my first year as an assistant at Missouri State, was his senior year of playing. And then he stayed on and was a graduate assistant with us the 2 years after that. And then that's when I actually left and went to Kansas State to be an assistant. And then he jumped right in and was assistant, took my spot when I left. So always knew him from there. Obviously, being from St. Louis, it was huge. I tell people all the time, like when going through this whole process, he was always a guy that I always wanted to talk to or to be a part of the staff anyway. It just so happened that he was already here. I think that was good for me as well, just because familiarity with the returning players, everything that goes into it. We've talked about it before. You always like to have somebody that's been around and knows the lay of the land that can help you out navigate some of those things, and especially in this type of a year too, and with COVID and everything, not being able to leave campus. I just thought it was important. Again, it just so happened that he happened to be here because he was always a guy that I always keep a little list of guys and names that you want to, if you ever get that opportunity, that you'd want to talk to. And so he was always on that list.
Do you make calls to some of your coaching friends in the business, and maybe even a Bruce Weber, where you say, what would be the challenges of keeping someone from the previous coaching staff?
Yeah, I talked to Coach about that because actually, ironically enough, when he went to SIU, he kept Rodney Watson on staff, who was there before.
Rodney Watson was there for – how many coaches was he there for?
Well, just Coach Aaron and Coach Weber, Coach Painter, Coach Lowry.
So he was there for 4 coaches. I mean,
he was there for 20-some-odd years.
It tells you a little bit about his character and basketball acumen, don't you think?
Yeah, exactly. And that was the thing that Coach said when he got to SIU. He just, Rodney, Coach Watson knew everything. He knew where everything was. And obviously Coach Weber and the rest of the staff that was coming in didn't know where everything was going to be at. So I think it just helps you with that transition, especially for me, again, coming into it first time, head coach during a pandemic. You got to have the guys that you know and you trust. And so that you get that with Coach Pickens, and obviously a great family man, him and his wife Nita and their kids. Same thing with Dustin Yoder, Sam McMahon, Aaron Proctor. Those guys, I know those guys have my back. And, when I leave the office, I don't ever worry about what the message is coming out of the office after I leave. And I just thought that was so important, on top of being a good basketball coach, which they all are.
Now, we know he still has his ability to leap. Because we see some of his videos on Twitter, his dunking videos. Does he still have game? We know he can still jump. Does he still have game? Because I know he'll get out there and ball a little bit in practice, right?
Oh, yeah. He gets out there and messes around with the guys a little bit. I think he's probably better now because as you get older, you become more wise, and you know the game slows down even that much more for you. So us coaches can always get out there and play and compete, just because the game of basketball isn't always about verticals and everything else. It's a lot more in the headspace. And but yeah, he still has the athletic ability. He's kind of like that Toby Keith song, though. He's good once, or what? How's it going?
Not as good as I once was.
I'm good once, but not as good as I once was. Yeah, so he can give you good. Like today, he could probably give you a good run, but then tomorrow he might be a little sore.
Okay. Well, let's talk to him about it. Coach Keith Pickens is here. We'll talk to him when we come back from this timeout. It's the Red Hawks Coaches Show at Wings Etc. in Cape on SEMO ESPN. Welcome back to the Red Hawks Coaches Show. We are at Wings Etc. in Cape Girardeau. This reminder, we will be over in Jackson next week. So head over to Titletown, Jackson, Missouri. Hope you can join us there. If you're coming for lunch today, check out their daily half-pound lunch specials. They start at just $7.99, and you'll notice all of the flat-screen, high-def televisions when you walk in, and they've all got sports programming. The Blues play tonight, the final game of a believe it or not, a four-game series with the Arizona Coyotes. Blues are 1-2 against Arizona, so you can watch that game right here at Wings Etc. Going to be talking some hoops here with Red Hawks assistant coach Keith Pickens. And we were just talking about the Super Bowl, and you being from St. Louis, you weren't one of the people that said, I'm done with the Rams after they left. You still root for the Rams.
I still root for the Rams. That's my team.
Pull your mic up just a little bit. There we go. So you seeing them 2 years ago in the Super Bowl, what was that like? We had two Super Bowls with the greatest show on turf. Won one, lost one. The one that we lost was Brady's first Super Bowl championship. Then they have this horrible stretch of football. At one point, they went 15-65, which is the worst 5-year run in the history of the NFL. And suddenly, they go to Los Angeles and are really good.
Yeah, everybody wants to come to L.A. So they moved to L.A. They made a business decision, and I rolled with them out to L.A. I'm a Laker fan. Now I'm a Rams fan. But when you go to L.A., it brings in so many more people. They want to be a part of something in L.A. They saw the new stadium coming. But yeah, I didn't flip to the Chiefs, and I know they got Mahomes. He's excellent, one of the best to do it. But I'm still with the Rams.
All right, Sean McVay. For a while there, anybody that had lunch with Sean McVay got interviewed to be a head coach. He was a hot commodity. We know he's a terrific football coach. What did you think of the trade? You get Matthew Stafford from the Detroit Lions, and Jared Goff is headed to Detroit. What did you think when you heard about the trade?
I think the trade can help both sides. I think it's good for L.A. They needed something different in the quarterback position, and then I also think for Detroit, they now get a quarterback that's been a winner, and he can come in and try to change that organization. And on the other hand, the Rams have been winners. They can help Stafford elevate his stature and be a winner because he's a talented quarterback. We all know that. So now he's with a winning franchise organization. They can lift him up, and I think Jared Goff can go to Detroit and lift them up.
Well, with the Rams, they pushed all their chips into the center of the table. I don't think they've got a first-round draft pick till like 2026 right now. They're banking on winning right away.
Absolutely, and it actually came out, I think, 2 days ago. Detroit first asked about Aaron Donald. They wanted to trade him, and Rams said no, absolutely not, and then they agreed to Jared Goff. So Rams are all in on defense and now offense and trying to get it done as soon as possible.
So you probably saw plenty of games in the Dome in St. Louis. How much have you seen of SoFi Stadium, this palace that the Rams are playing in out in L.A. now?
Yeah, just when if we're off on a Sunday, we can watch a game. I'm in amaze. I kind of followed the building of it. On their social media. So it's an amazing facility. I told my wife one day, the Super Bowl is there next year. I said, if you ever want to give me something on my bucket list, get me out to L.A., get to the new stadium.
And have you ever seen the Lakers in person?
I've seen the Lakers in person, but it was in Oklahoma City.
Okay.
It wasn't in L.A.
All right. What did you think when your favorite basketball team got LeBron James?
Well, I was a big Kobe fan, so I watched I think it was his second or third to last game of his career in OKC. But then seeing LeBron go there, you knew he would elevate the franchise to where it needs to be, and obviously he's done that.
All right. Being from St. Louis, you played at Oakville High School. Tell us about playing at Oakville.
It was a good experience, and we went into a situation where it wasn't a school known for basketball. We kind of stuck with it, and then by the time I became a senior, we had struggled so many years, and we cracked it my senior year, and we made it to state. Now, we didn't win it. We ended up losing to Alec Burks of Grandview, and then we lost to, I think it was Brad Bill as a sophomore with Chaminade. So it was a great experience to just build from the ground up and stick it out and fight through and see how, what hard work can do when you put it all in and everybody's on board.
How much did you play against Bradley Beal when he was in St. Louis?
I actually only played against him once.
Okay.
Yeah, because he was at Chaminade as a sophomore, and I'm a couple years older than him, so we didn't see each other much.
Kind of cool to see a guy from St. Louis having so much success in the NBA, and the trade rumors are swirling. There are a lot of teams that would like to take him out of a losing organization and insert him into a winning organization.
Absolutely. For us in St. Louis, we look at Brad Beal, Jason Tatum as heroes. They've rose to the ranks, and two of the best guys in the NBA. And Brad Beal said he wants to stay in Washington. I don't know how true that is, but that's his word, and we have to listen to it.
And with Brad Beal, I know he does a lot of work in the city of St. Louis with basketball.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got a AAU team, Bradley Beal Elite, and he's constantly trying to give back to the city. And I know he does a good job in Washington, giving back in the area he's in there too. So he's a great person and a great basketball player.
So you were telling me that Red Hawks freshman Dylan Branson, he is a Melville graduate. And you were telling me Melville was Oakville's rival when you were in high school.
Yeah. So Dylan and I go back and forth. I tell him, Melville's weak, and he'll come back and he's like, I never lost to Oakville. But it's a rivalry school, same district, and we get kids from like the same area. So it was always a big rivalry in football and basketball. When I was going through high school, it was even. We got the better of them by the time I was a senior. And then since then, I think Melville's kind of taken on a rivalry and been on top. So he's got some bragging rights. But for me personally, I had the opportunity to beat them in that rivalry situation. So I can always use that on them.
So Missouri State, you were a Bear. Tell us a little bit about your career while you were at Missouri State, and tell us about the time that you retired and then unretired.
Yeah, so go to Missouri State right out of high school, so 2009. And I'm recruited by Quanzo Martin, who's at Mizzou. I played for him for 2 years. Well, 1 year, my freshman year, we won 23 games, won the CIT championship. Then that summer, I come off a meniscus tear, and then I ruptured my patella tendon right after, 4 months later. So I missed the whole sophomore season. We ended up winning the conference championship and losing in the conference tournament championship. We lost in the championship game, but we won the overall regular season conference standings. So get done. I rehab 12 months from that injury. Coach Martin leaves, goes to Tennessee. Coach Luss comes in, and I played with him for 3 years. And it was a great experience. Got to learn a lot.
I saw him play at SIU back in the day.
Excellent player.
Paul Lusk. Yes, he could shoot it.
Yes, he could. He's a really good player, even better coach. So I got to learn a lot from him, things that still stick with me to this day that I use for my coaching habits. And I after my true senior year, my knee is bogging me down. It's turning into a back injury. It's turning into a hip injury. So I say this is it. I feel like I can't give what I want to give at this level. And so I gave away my scholarship and went away and finished my internship, graduated that summer. And just, I got an itch. Started feeling good, working out. It wasn't the wear and tear on my body, so I told Coach Luss, hey, I think I want to come back and give it a go. It was 2 weeks into when that school started. And so at this time, there's no scholarships, so I had to pay my own way. And I think Coach Luss appreciated that because he wanted me to come back. It was hard terms. There was no scholarships available. I had to pay my own way. And I stuck it out. And then we ended up winning 20 games my senior year when Coach Korn came in as assistant coach. So it was a great experience. I wouldn't change anything. I think some of the decisions I made and how I went about it really shaped me to be where I am today, and I'm forever grateful for that.
So how stressful of a time was it when you knew a coaching change was coming here at SEMO, and Coach Korn ends up getting the job? How stressful of a time was that for you? Because you're obviously thinking, man, I'm going to be looking for another coaching job.
No doubt. I mean, anytime it happens, you know what you're up against, and the biggest thing is not letting it stress you too much and understanding the bigger picture of life. And my kids and my family come first. So understanding that first and foremost, but the job landscape of it. That's when you always want to make sure you're doing right by people, treat people right in every situation, no matter what it may become. So I knew that me and Coach Korn always had a good relationship. When it happened, I wasn't guaranteed anything, but I trusted the situation. He trusted me, and when we got on the phone, we talked about things. It made sense, and forever grateful for the opportunity as well.
Are you the Red Hawks' go-to recruiter for the city of St. Louis?
Yeah, I mean, we all recruit guys based off of who we know and connections. It might be for example, Coach McMahon might know somebody really well at a certain high school in St. Louis that I may not know as well as him, and he may have the better relationship there. So it's like, we can all recruit. We don't have to restrict it. We got different target areas, and St. Louis, like I look at everything on St. Louis. I know who's the leading scorer in high school basketball, so I continue to do all that stuff. But if Sam's got a kid that he knows from coach, he doesn't need to come to me and say, hey, this kid's from St. Louis, here you go. He can work it, and we can all work it together, and that's how staffs become complete.
For those who don't know it, you and your wife, Nita, are the parents of triplets, Kaya, Chloe, and Kimbry. What was that day like when the ultrasound was taken and the nurse informed you, guess what? 3 of them.
First, I can't not mention my son, Caden, who's 5-year-old. I know we're talking about the triplets, but I always want to make sure he's mentioned because sometimes it can get left out with the triplets. But hearing the news that it was triplets, I almost passed out that day. I was at work, and my wife called and said, hey, everything's all right, I need you to come to the hospital. And I was like, well, if everything's all right, why do I need to come to the hospital? And in my head, I was like, something's got to be going on. And I get there, and the nurse is like, all right, let me show you the babies. And she's got me recorded. She's recording me. I said, babies? And she goes, 1, 2, 3. And my jaw dropped, and I about passed out. And I called my boss, Coach Luss, at the time. I said, hey, Coach, me and my wife just found out we're having triplets. I need some time. So he just told Coach, hey, just do what you got to do and get back when you need to. And he's just very supportive. And I ended up spending some time with her and getting her home and make sure everything's all right because she's on bed rest of this time. And I get back to work, and everybody's like, how did that happen? I have no idea, but it's a blessing. They've been amazing. There'll be 3 in March. And it's helping me become a better person and a better coach.
Okay, so you need 1 more to round out the starting 5 for a basketball team, or is this it?
This is it. I have teammates with kids around the same age, so we just pick and plug, based off that. But no, we're done. We're blessed, and we enjoy our family, and we're just going to continue to grow from here.
One of the things that I dislike most about the pandemic, and there are a lot of reasons, the fans don't go on the floor after games because I miss seeing your girls all dressed exactly the same, running around and having a great time on the Show Me Center floor after basketball games.
No, they love it. And actually now, for me, they don't get that time. So my off day, which is Sunday, we take the kids to the Show Me floor, and they get to run around in that time where nobody's around. So they daddy team. We want to go to daddy team. So we know what it is. They tell me my son, he loves it. He loves shooting hoops. So every Sunday when we're off, we go up to Show Me, and they get on the floor, run around, and expend some energy.
That's terrific. I do have to ask, how tough is it to get 3 identical outfits?
Well, it's tougher for the pocketbook. You can usually find what you need, but before you know it, you look at that shopping cart, those numbers have jumped up really quickly. So we always have to be cautious with that. But it's usually pretty hard. Sometimes if it's not, we sit it down and we go look for something else. But we try to make sure they have all the same stuff. And then some days they may not wear the same stuff, and some days they will. So my wife does a great job. I'm lucky I don't have to deal with any of that. So she does all the shopping for them, and she keeps it off my plate.
You are lucky that you don't have to do that. Okay. We see the videos that you put out on Twitter with some of your dunks. If we had a dunk contest on the team, which included you, who wins the dunk contest?
We actually have some pretty athletic guys. Now I'll say it'll probably have to be Nana. Nana has a good dunk package. He can mix some things up. DQ's sneaky. But I would roll with Nana, and I'd be a close second.
So Nolan Taylor's nowhere in the dunk contest.
Nolan Taylor, actually, he's dunked twice this year.
Really?
And it's just been in warm-ups, and when he does it, everybody knows because we all go crazy and we get hyped for him. But he's a vet, and he takes his body serious, so he doesn't jump much, and he does what he knows he should be doing.
And for those who don't know, as a Division I head coach, you are undefeated.
Yeah, fortunate in the situation I was in, and 2-0.
You remind Coach Korn of that? I'm undefeated.
No. This is about what's going on now, and we're trying to build it up right now for the future.
How different is it recruiting right now, man? You've used to all of different things in terms of recruiting, and it's all changed.
Yeah, the biggest thing is obviously not being able to get off campus. But now you're getting so many. You have to watch film. But you're getting so many text messages of now guys are trying to push guys every which way now. And for the 2021 class, this high school class, these guys are going to miss a lot of opportunities because guys are getting to stay with this NCAA situation where guys can get this year back. So from that standpoint, seeing so many 2021 guys get left behind and have to go prep school or maybe JUCO when they necessarily don't need to, it's a bad situation for them. But you just constantly fielding phone calls, text messages, watching film, and just trying to follow up with guys that you're in good with.
All right, we're going to be at Murray State on Thursday and Austin Peay on Saturday. Big road trip coming up for the Red Hawks. We will see you in Murray, Coach. Thanks so much for joining us today.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
That is Coach Keith Pickens, father of 4, and 3 of them happen to be triplets. Back to wrap it up with Coach Korn, get a moment about Murray State, who the Red Hawks play on Thursday. It's the Red Hawks Coaches Show on SEMO ESPN. Welcome back to the Red Hawks Coaches Show at Wings Etc. in Cape Girardeau. Don't forget, we will be in the Jackson Wings Etc. location next Monday at 12 noon. The Red Hawks will be coming off of their road trip here. They'll play at Murray State Thursday and then Austin Peay on Saturday. 2 of the nicest venues in the Ohio Valley Conference. The Show Me Center's right there with them. You just played Murray State, so that's fresh in your mind. I talked with their sports information director after the game, Dave Winder. He's at every game, and he's been there forever and went to school there. And he said that was the best game Murray State has played all year when they came to the Show Me Center. He said unquestionably that was the best game that we played all year. So you got to see their best is what I'm saying. Yeah,
and we had talked about leading up to that, Eric, about not always who you play, but when you play them. And I thought we were playing our best because we just had come off the SIUE in Eastern Illinois where we played fantastic. So I was expecting that thing to go down to the wire as well. And I just got done watching their Moorhead game before I came over here, and they did not. I was just telling the staff they did not look like the same team that played us. And I think they scored 55 points at Moorhead, and they were discombobulated, and it just was. It's kind of been their year, right? They've been up and down a little bit here and there, and we did catch them. I mean, they were moving and playing at a pace, and then obviously they had a guy step up and have a career high. And I don't know if I think he's made 1 3 since then. He went 5 for 5 against us, and. But again, that's some of that's our fault because if you give a guy confidence and now the basket seems bigger than it really is, then So I think we'll be ready. I think we'll play a much better game. Again, we had shot ourselves in the foot in that game, and I think we were a little bit too jumped over the fight or whatever that saying is for that Murray game. I think we were just maybe a little bit too tense for it because our guys want to beat them and we're going to beat Murray, and I think we kind of lost sight of how we had done the previous 2 games. Of the process, as you will, as we talk about. And so I think we'll get back to that. We'll have a good day of practice tomorrow and Wednesday and head down Thursday.
And it's going to be one of the few times this year where you face a rowdy environment. I think they're putting about 3,000. I mean, they sell out a lot over there, but they're not allowing that many. But they are leading the league in attendance. There are going to be a lot of fans at that game, and Murray State fans are loud fans.
Yeah, and I think that I don't think they played. Did they play again since the Belmont? when they lost to Belmont. I don't know if they've played at home again since then. So, I mean, they'll be –
Yeah, I think that's going to be their first home game.
Yeah, so they'll be ready, and that obviously was a tense game. And they played really well that game and then come and played really, really well at our place. So it'll be interesting to see, again, as we go down the stretch here, too, of which teams show up. And we've talked a lot today about consistency and, whoever comes with the most consistency, the most energy. And we're going to have to come with it, as you said, because it's going to be our first true road test.
All right, and I know you're just focused right now on Murray State, but you do play Austin Peay on Saturday. I know you've seen them on tape just because of teams that you've played have played Austin Peay, but you're going to see the best player in the league in that game in Terry Taylor, and he is a load.
Yeah, he is. We're going to have to come with everybody's going to have a piece of that. We're going to have to. Everybody's going to have to be on high alert. Again, they're not just driven by him, obviously, but he also can have a huge, huge game. Obviously, preseason player of the year and everything. All the accolades are well deserved because he is that type of a player.
Leads the league in scoring and rebounding, and that's hard to do. Yeah. All right, so it's going to be Murray State Thursday, Austin Peay Saturday. Coach, thanks so much for your time, and we'll see you in Murray, Kentucky Thursday.
All right, sounds good, Eric. Thank you.
That's Coach Brad Korn, and that is going to do it for the Red Hawks Coaches Show. Don't forget, the Red Hawk women will be playing at Belmont tomorrow. That is a 5 o'clock tip-off for the women, and they just swept their homestand, and you can hear the game right here on SEMO ESPN. We'll get you back into the Max Kellerman Show here coming up. Enjoy the